All right. Welcome. We're diving deep into higher education in Dubai today.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
It's becoming a real global hub for students, from all over.
It really is. And for anybody out there who's thinking about it, who's looking at Dubai as an option for university,
Yeah,
we're going to try and save you a ton of time
exactly.
with, brochures and websites.
Yeah.
We've gone through a bunch of university guides, tips from experts. We've even got some case studies of students, you know, fictional students.
Yeah, like real scenarios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a bunch of stats just to lay it all out for you.
Yeah, to give you the best picture.
Exactly. So,
That begs the question, where do you even begin?
well, I mean, I think a really good place to start is with
Okay.
rankings and accreditation.
Okay.
Obviously you want to make sure that the university is accredited by the UAE Ministry of Education.
Right, right. Of course, that's the baseline.
Exactly. That's the baseline.
Yeah.
But also, you want to look for international bodies like AACSB,
Yeah.
ABET, AQUIS.
I was going to say, what do those even mean?
Yeah. So like, for example, AACSB,
Yeah.
that's more for business programs.
Okay.
And it basically means that, they've met this certain standard.
Okay.
And so it's recognized globally.
Right.
So if you're looking to have, a global career.
So it's not just some, meaningless
Exactly.
rubber stamp.
No, it actually has meaning.
Okay.
ABET is more engineering focused.
Okay.
And that makes sure that the programs meet specific, technical standards,
Okay.
which is really important if you want to get licensed
Yeah.
professionally in other countries.
Makes sense.
And then EQIS is kind of a European thing.
Okay.
That's often, you see that a lot with European business schools.
Gotcha.
And it emphasizes more of a global perspective,
Okay.
strong corporate links, that kind of thing.
So you really broke that down. That's helpful because you
Yeah.
see that and you're like, oh, ACSB.
Right. Okay, whatever.
But it actually does mean something.
But it's, okay, good to know.
It does. Yeah. And, speaking of those rankings, it's interesting that 82% of international universities in Dubai
Wow.
have a 4 or 5-star rating from the, what is it, the KHDA?
The Knowledge and Human Development Authority?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is wild.
That is really impressive.
10 of them have a 5-star rating.
So that tells you that, across the board, you're probably going to get a pretty good quality education.
That's a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at rankings and accreditation.
What's next?
Next up, I think we have to look at the programs themselves.
The program offerings and, what they specialize in.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's one thing to say, oh, they have an engineering program.
Right.
But does that engineering program align with what you want to do?
Exactly. And are they keeping up with the times?
Yeah, because especially as we're looking ahead to 2025, things are changing so quickly.
And they are, yeah. You want to make sure that the curriculum is up to date.
Right.
And they've really taken into account like the recent trends and advancements.
Absolutely. And what's happening in the industry.
Yeah,
You don't want to be learning stuff that's already outdated.
totally. And it's also, beyond the books and the theory, it's do they have internships?
Internships and industry collaborations are huge.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because that's how you actually get the real world experience.
Yeah, that real world experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And thinking about that, I mean, who's teaching you is really important.
Yeah, faculty expertise is key.
Right, because you want someone who's, not just like a bookworm.
Right. You want them to have real world experience.
Yeah, in the field.
Be involved in research and, ideally internationally as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That just brings a whole other element to the classroom.
Absolutely. And then thinking about the learning environment, you want to make sure the campus has good facilities.
Yeah. The facilities and infrastructure are important.
Yeah. What's the library like?
Yeah,
Are there labs? If you need labs?
exactly. Do they have smart classrooms?
Yeah.
Is the student housing decent?
And the recreation, are there places to,
Right. Is there a gym?
Exactly.
Can you play sports?
Yeah, you're spending a lot of time there.
You are, yeah. So you want to make sure that it's, a good environment for you.
Yeah, and thinking about that location, I thought it was interesting that DIA was mentioned a lot.
Dubai International Academic City.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a purpose-built, place for universities.
So it's not just, a university that happens to be in a city.
Exactly.
It's a city for universities.
Exactly.
Which is interesting.
It's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone through, the academics, the faculty, the facilities, but then what about after you graduate?
Right, that's when career development and industry links come in.
Huge. Yeah. Because what's the point of getting a degree if you can't get a job?
Exactly. And Dubai is such a hub for international companies.
Yeah.
So, the universities that have strong connections with those companies,
Uh-huh.
That's going to give you a huge leg up.
Yeah. So you want to see, do they have a good career services department?
Exactly. And what are their placement rates like?
Yeah. Do they actually help people get jobs?
And what kind of internships do they offer?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's be real, tuition fees are a big factor for most people.
Oh, yeah. Money matters.
Yeah.
It does.
So you're going to want to look at not just the upfront cost, but
The total expenses.
the total expenses.
Yeah. Are there any hidden fees?
The hidden fees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what about scholarships?
Oh, yeah. Scholarships, merit-based, need-based, all of that.
All of that, yeah. So do your research.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't just assume that it's unaffordable.
Right.
There might be ways to make it work.
Absolutely. And then, we've talked about all this serious stuff.
What about the fun stuff?
The fun stuff? What about student life?
Student life is important.
Yeah.
You're not just there to study. You're there to have an experience.
Right. You're going to be there for years.
Exactly. So look at the clubs and the events.
Yeah. Are there any networking opportunities?
Are there sports teams?
Yeah.
Do they have, a good social scene?
And if you're, an international student especially, I imagine that community is even more important.
Yeah, for sure, because you're away from home.
Right.
You're in a new country.
It's a big deal.
So having that support network is really important.
Yeah. And thinking about that sense of community, it's also interesting to look at the track record of the alumni.
Yeah, where do the graduates end up?
Right. Are they getting jobs in their field?
Are they successful?
Are they all over the world?
Are they making a difference in the world?
Exactly.
Yeah, the alumni network can tell you a lot about the university.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, I have to ask this, especially for our international listeners.
Yes, support for international students.
Huge, right?
Huge.
Because if you're moving to Dubai,
you're going to need help.
Yeah.
With things like housing,
visas,
cultural integration.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so make sure that the university you're choosing has a good support system in place for international students.
Absolutely. And then finally, location.
You got it.
It matters.
It does.
Where in Dubai is the university?
Is it close to where you're going to be living?
Is it easy to get to?
Is it near public transportation?
Yeah. Is it near a metro station?
Exactly.
Yeah, because they're going to be going back and forth.
You are. All the time.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it's convenient.
Yeah.
All right. So those are kind of the main things to think about.
We've gone through the framework.
We have.
Now let's talk about some specific schools.
Let's name some names.
Yeah.
All right. So the University of Dubai.
Okay.
Accredited by the UAE Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
They're known for their strong business and engineering programs.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they have a really unique approach
Oh.
to engineering where they really focus on the business side of things.
Interesting.
So if you're interested in entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and, being an engineer, but also maybe starting your own company.
A business-minded engineer.
Exactly.
Right.
They're ranked globally between 851 and 900.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. And then there's the American University of Dubai.
AUD.
AUD, yes.
Okay.
They offer internationally recognized degrees
Okay.
in engineering, business, and media.
Media. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good one if you're interested in media.
Yeah.
And they have partnerships with a ton of top universities around the world.
So lots of international.
Yeah, international collaborations.
Gotcha.
They're ranked globally between 621 and 630.
Okay, great.
Yeah. What's next?
Next, we have Heriot-Watt University, Dubai.
Okay.
They're known for business, data science, and engineering.
Oh, wow. The hot topics.
The hot topics, yes.
Yeah.
They offer a British curriculum,
Okay.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
And they're very research-focused.
Okay.
And they have worldwide student exchange networks.
So lots of opportunities
to go abroad.
Yeah.
They were named the best Middle East university in 2019.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a big one.
And they received a 5-star KHDA rating for 3 consecutive years.
That's huge.
It is.
Yeah.
They recently moved to a new campus in Dubai Knowledge Park,
Okay.
which was officially opened by King Charles III.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fancy.
And their growth has been really impressive.
Oh.
They started with just 120 students in 2005,
Okay.
and they're expecting to have 5,000 international students by 2023.
Wow. That's
a big jump.
Yeah.
So Dubai is definitely becoming a more and more popular destination
Clearly.
for higher education.
That's a good sign.
It is, yeah.
Okay, what else?
We've also got Middlesex University, Dubai.
Okay,
They also use a UK-based education system,
okay,
and they're really focused on internships and employability.
okay.
So if you're looking to get a job after graduation,
Yeah,
this is a good option.
practical.
They have a very diverse student population,
Okay.
over 5,600 students from 120 different nationalities.
Wow, that's a mix.
Yeah, it's a real melting pot.
Yeah. They've been named Dubai's biggest UK university
Yeah.
for 4 years running,
Wow.
and they've got a 5-star KHDA rating.
Right.
So they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Manipal Academy of Higher Education in Dubai.
Okay.
They specialize in engineering management and IT.
Okay.
They have modern campus facilities.
Okay.
And their tuition is pretty comparable to other universities.
Okay.
Berlin Institute of Technology and Science,
Beats.
BITS.
Yeah. Dubai campus.
Dubai campus.
Okay.
This is the first international branch of an Indian university.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was established in 2000.
Okay.
They offer graduate and undergraduate programs in business and engineering.
Okay.
And they have about 1,400 students annually,
Okay.
mostly from India, Oman, and Qatar.
Okay, great.
Canadian University, Dubai,
CUD.
CUD.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
have a Canadian-based curriculum,
Okay.
which is great if you're looking for a different perspective,
Right.
different way of learning.
Yeah.
They're ranked 523rd globally,
Okay. Awesome.
and then Sayed University.
Okay.
They're all about leadership and innovation.
Okay.
They're ranked globally between 621 and 630.
Okay, great. And it's worth mentioning, too, that, it's not just about these big universities.
Right.
There are also specialized institutions, like in one of the Let's Studies scenarios, the Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management.
Oh, yeah. If you want to work in hospitality,
That's the place to be.
that's the place to be.
Yeah, so if you're really focused,
Yeah.
there might be a more specialized place.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we've talked about all the good stuff,
The good stuff. Yeah.
but what about the challenges?
Yeah, because there are always challenges.
There are.
What are some of the things that trip people up?
Well, accreditation can be a bit of a minefield,
Right.
with all these different national and international
It's
bodies.
so many acronyms.
So many acronyms.
Yeah.
It can be hard to figure out which ones are really important.
Yeah. Which ones actually matter? So what do you do?
Do your research.
Okay.
Make sure that the university has the accreditations that are relevant to your field
Okay.
and to the countries where you might want to work in the future.
So it might be worth making a list,
Yeah, a checklist.
like a checklist of the accreditations.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good tip.
Yeah. Another big challenge is obviously tuition fees.
Money, money, money.
Money, money, money.
Yeah.
But don't let that scare you off.
Okay.
There are scholarships available.
Right.
There's financial aid.
Yeah.
And there might even be government-sponsored programs
Okay.
for international students.
So ask.
Ask questions.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to reach out to the university
To the university.
and see what's available.
Yeah. Okay. Good tip.
Another challenge is the specialization of the programs.
Right.
Some universities are very specialized.
Yeah.
Others are more general.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that the university you're choosing has a strong program in your specific field of interest.
So if you're hyper-focused,
Yeah,
you need to go to a hyper-focused university.
exactly.
Okay.
And then student life and campus facilities can also be a challenge.
Right, because not all universities are created equal
They're not.
in that regard.
No.
Yeah.
So do your research. Look at the extracurricular activities and the
yes.
facilities.
Yeah. Does it match what you're looking for?
Exactly, because all of that contributes to your experience.
To your experience.
Yeah. And then, of course, employment opportunities after graduation.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So look at the university's career services.
Yeah. What kind of support do they offer?
Exactly. Do they have connections with industry?
Yeah. Do they do any job fairs?
Yeah. What are their placement rates like? Those are good questions.
They are.
Ask.
And then finally, for international students, residency and visa regulations,
Oh, yeah.
that can be a bit of a nightmare.
A nightmare.
So be prepared. Be prepared.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Understand the requirements
Yeah.
well in advance.
Yeah. Don't wait till the last minute to figure this stuff out.
And be aware of the regulations around work permits.
Yeah.
After you graduate.
Okay. So all very good advice.
Yes.
And to bring all this to life, let's talk about some of those case studies that we pulled from Let's Studies.
Okay, so we've got Rahul.
Raul.
Rahul was a commerce graduate from Mumbai.
Okay.
And he was feeling super overwhelmed by the MBA application process.
It's a lot.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So Let's Studies helped him to narrow down his choices
Okay.
based on his budget and his career goals.
Okay.
And they even helped him to get some partial scholarships for SP Jain.
Wow. So they
Oh,
actually.
yeah, they really helped him through the process.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. And then we've got Aisha.
Aisha.
Aisha was an aspiring AI engineer from Hyderabad.
Okay.
And she was having trouble finding universities in Dubai
Right.
that had strong AI programs. Yeah. So Let's Studies recommended Harriet Watt University, Dubai,
Oh, yeah.
which we talked about earlier.
They're good for that.
They are.
Yeah.
And she's doing really well there.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's excelling academically.
Okay.
And she's even managed to get an internship with a leading technology company.
Wow.
So
Oh.
she's on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got Samir.
Samir.
Samir was from Bangalore,
Okay.
and he wanted to work in luxury hospitality in Dubai.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Dubai's known for that.
it is.
Yeah.
So Let's Studies helped him to find the Emirates Academy of Hospitality Management,
Okay.
which is, the top school for that.
Yeah, we talked about them earlier.
That we did.
Yeah.
And they also helped him with the visa application process and scholarships.
Okay, so they really held his hand through the whole thing.
We did, yeah.
Wow.
And he's now working at a 5-star hotel in Dubai.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
So he's living the dream.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so these are like real people.
Yeah, they're fictional, but they're based on real scenarios.
Yeah, they're relatable.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
We also got some expert opinions
Okay.
from our sources.
Okay, like who?
So Rodwaif Dagwood,
Okay.
he's the CEO of the KHDA's strategy and planning sector.
Okay.
And he basically said that the fact that 82% of international universities in Dubai have 4- or 5-star ratings
Yeah.
shows that this sector is really committed to excellence.
Okay, so it's not just a fluke.
No, it's a real trend.
It's a real trend.
Yeah. And we also found some additional resources that you might want to check out.
Okay.
There are some articles by Louis Parks, Art Ashwin, and Rod Afzal M. Malik
Okay.
that go into more detail about higher education in Dubai.
Awesome. So if people want to learn more, they can
Yeah,
check those out.
absolutely.
Okay, so to wrap this up,
Big picture.
big picture.
Yeah.
Choosing the best university in Dubai is a personal decision.
It is.
It depends on your goals, your budget, your
Your dreams,
dreams are exactly.
what you want to get out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Dubai has a lot to offer.
It does.
Yes.
There are some really high-quality universities there
Yeah.
that are internationally recognized,
Yeah.
and they can provide you with a great education
And amazing career opportunities.
and amazing career opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're doing your research, remember to consider everything we've talked about.
The accreditation,
The accreditations,
the programs,
the equities,
the facilities,
the career services,
the student life,
the student life,
the support for international students,
the locations,
the location, all of it.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget to check out the university websites,
Oh, yeah.
read student reviews.
Yeah.
And if you can reach out to current students or alumni
Yeah.
and get their perspective.
Get that inside scoop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So considering how much Dubai's universities are growing and becoming, global players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of impact could that have on you?
Right.
Not just on your career, but
But on your life.
on your life, your worldview, your
Perspective.
your perspective. Yeah.
It's something to think about.
It is something to think about.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us
Thanks for listening.
on this deep dive.
Yeah. This was fun.
It was fun.